There are many little things that you're doing that are exposing your standards in life, and they're also exposing where you're operating below your potential and where you are playing it small. On the surface, these little things may seem insignificant, like why bother with them? Why would you make them so important? But the thing is, how you do one thing is how you do everything in life. And yes, on the surface, they may seem insignificant, but they are just symptoms. And when you look at the root cause of these symptoms, now you are exposed to a bigger problem that is entangled into all areas of life. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And this can also show up in a positive way, as in when you are going to the gym consistently and you develop this discipline, now this discipline shows up in different areas as well. But it also shows up in a negative way where you embody a low standard in one situation, and this low standard is transferred to different situations as well. And that's why you don't want to brush over these little things, because they are beautiful invitations for you to look at, where am I playing it small in life? Where am I operating below my potential? Because you need to bring these situations into your awareness for you to be able to embody a higher standard in life. So that's why I'll share 5 little things with you that are exposing these low standards that you might have in life so that you can make that shift into embodying a higher standard. The first one is you're not on time. And yes, I want to be compassionate and I also want to be graceful with people, because you are never going to be perfect at this. Life is unpredictable and there will always be moments where you're late. But if you are consistently late, if you are consistently not on time, and I'm even talking about a few minutes late, then there is a deeper problem that you must look at. And on the surface, we could say, well, you're disrespecting someone else's time. So of course, yes, there's a truth in this. We could also say, maybe it highlights your lack of time management skills. Maybe it highlights the lack of agency and control you experience when it comes to your time, your days, your weeks, because you're just reactive through the day. You're just rushing from appointment to appointment and you're late. And this is where you lack maybe intentionality. So yes, it might highlight this problem. But I would even argue that there is a deeper problem at play here that is impacting your life in so many big ways. Because when I tell you it is a problem if you're a few minutes late, what comes up for you? Do you think, why would you make that so important? Why would you make a big deal out of being a few minutes late? And I would counter that as in, does it matter to you that you're falling short? Does it matter to you that you're not honoring your word, that you're not being a man of your word? Because this is the commitment that you created. When you give your word to someone, as in, I'm going to be on time, or I'll be at the meeting at this time, and you're not following through on your word, can people trust your word? Because now you're living out of integrity with your potential and with your word. So the question becomes, where else are you not following through on your word? And now you could see how big this problem is. Like, yes, the symptom of, oh, I'm late, might not seem that insignificant, but if you don't follow through on your word, if you're not being a man of your word, you could see how many problems that could cause in your life. Because can people trust you? When you say you're going to do something, can they trust you? Can you trust yourself? When you say you're going to do something today, are you doing it that day? Or are you pushing it to tomorrow and to tomorrow and to the next day? Because what will that do to your confidence? So this is where how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you don't honor your word in one area, you hold your word loosely. And you don't want to hold your word loosely. Because let's imagine the complete opposite. Let's imagine that you follow through on every single thing, every single word that comes out of your mouth. Just imagine what you could create in your life if this is the truth, that whenever you speak something, it's going to happen, no matter what. Just imagine how powerful you would become. And that's where you also become very mindful, as in, what am I going to say yes to in life? What am I going to say no to? Because when I give my word to someone, or when I give my word to something, I am going to follow through. So now you become very intentional what you say yes to and what you say no to. And whenever you give your word to something or someone, your words hold power. It carries a different kind of energy when you follow through on your word. Because when you say that something will get done, it will get done. And this is the kind of man that you want to become. So that's why you want to hold your word with that type of intensity, with that much intention. You want to be a man of your word. And it already shows up in the little things, as in, I'm going to be on time. I'm going to be at this appointment at the time that I said that I would be there. So this is the first one. The second one is, you will see what happens. And this one can trigger me so much because I hear this a lot, where people say, I'm going with the flow of life, Joy. I'm just seeing what will happen. I just let things happen. And yes, there are certain seasons in your life where this is necessary to lean into this type of energy. But these are not that many seasons. And I would also argue, as in, there are certain things that you do. For example, creating this video. When I post this video online, I will see what happens, because I took the actions and now it's outside of my control. I don't know what's going to happen. But most people say these things because they are too afraid to take radical responsibility for their life. They're too afraid to live into that ownership, as in, I am the creator of my life. And they are just letting life happen. So if you're just going with the flow of life, how do you know that you're going into the directions that you want to go into? If you just let life take you into any direction, because now you become reactive. You start to react to people, what people are telling you that you should be doing. You react to social media, to your feelings, to your thoughts, to your emotions. And now you're pushed and pulled into directions that might not be in alignment with the goals that you want to achieve. So how about we make that shift from I'll see what happens to this is what I want to happen. This is what I want to be creating in life. Because now you step into the driver's seat. And if you bring that level of intention into everything that you're doing, just imagine what you would be creating. It shows up in all the little things. Just imagine you go into a meeting at work and you say, oh, I'll see what happens. I'll see what my colleagues have to say. I'll see what my boss has to say. Or you step into the meeting as in, these are the kind of questions that I want to have answered. This is what I'm going to be creating in this meeting. This is what I want to get out of the meeting. This is who I want to be in this meeting. So we could say, well, it's just a meeting. But what if you're disintentional in the meeting? I can guarantee you that you will increase the likelihood of getting a promotion by so much if you're disintentional with the way that you show up at work. So how about you bring that level of intention and that standard to every single thing that you're doing and creating in life? Instead of, I'll see what happens, and being at the mercy of life, this is what I want to happen. This is what I want to be creating in life. And you take radical ownership and responsibility over your path and your direction. And I know that sometimes this is scary to do. This is why people avoid this thing as well, because now you are the one responsible. So when things are not going your way, you're the one taking the hits. And that's why it's a safe option to just go with the flow of life. Because when things are not going your way, you're not the one responsible. Even though you are, but it doesn't feel like that because you're not the one driving. So that's why you want to step into the driver's seat, take radical responsibility and become the creator of your existence, of your direction in life. The third one is that you are avoiding conflicts. So yes, on the surface, you are keeping things peaceful. People are liking you. You don't want to create any conflict. You don't want to create any uncomfortable situations or any confrontations. And this looks like on the surface like a good thing, but what is the root cause of this all? Because let's imagine your friends ask you to go out and to drink some alcohol and party, but you have your fitness goals that you want to work on. You want to go to bed early, wake up early, you have your meal prepped, you don't want to be drinking because it will affect your productivity, your focus, your progress. And you are too afraid to say no because you don't want to offend them. Well, they are your friends. What if they start making fun of you? So you say yes, you go out with them, but you're diluting your standards. You're diluting your truth and what you want to be building in life. And you could see how this will impact all areas of your life when you start to dilute your standards, when you start to dilute your truth and what you believe in, what you want to be building. Because now you're not living life for yourself anymore. You're living life for other people so that they like you, so that you live in alignment with the expectations that you think that they have of you, so you don't create any uncomfortable situations. So what kind of life are you actually living? Because if I ask you that question as in, do you want to live a life true to yourself, or do you want to live a life in a way that other people think that you should be living life, just to be liked by other people? Which one would you choose? Of course, everyone would choose, I want to live a life true to myself. But are you the embodiment of this? Are you embodying your truth? Even though it might create confrontation. Because when you say no to your friends that want you to go out, maybe they laugh at you. Maybe they'll make fun of you. If you, and this is what most people are really afraid of, if you truly embody your standards and your truth, maybe you need to cut off certain relationships in life. Maybe certain things, the way that people are interacting with you, maybe it becomes unacceptable to you. And you have to say no to these relationships. And you have to let go of them. Maybe you need to go alone for some time. And this is the thing that most people are afraid of. What if people will leave me? What if I am alone? So they just reduce their standards, they lower their standards, they dilute their truth, and they just make sure that they are living in alignment with the expectations that other people have of them, so that their friends will like them, so that the family will like them. But do you want to get into a career that your parents think that you should be doing, or do you want to create something that's true to you? And these decisions, they are difficult. So that's why, again, I'll keep repeating this. On the surface, it may seem insignificant, as in, oh yeah, I'm just saying yes to go out with my friends. But if we go to the root cause of this, where are you not living a life true to yourself? And if you want to create your dream life, you need to live in alignment with your truth. I know it sounds so obvious, but it's one of the scariest things to do in life. So this is one thing to lean into. What would your life look like? What would your life look like if you live in alignment with the deepest truth of you, with the things that you want to be building, with your dream, with what you believe in? What would your life look like? What would you say yes to in life? What would you say no to in life? And my invitation really is to sit with these type of questions, because certain things pop up and they pop up for a reason. I believe these are downloads that are meant for you in this moment. And are you strong enough to hold them and to receive them and to act accordingly? Because that's where you take radical ownership of your life. And what I also believe when it comes to confrontation, I want confrontations with people. I want there to be tension in relationships, not to create unnecessary tension all the time, but I want to see what someone is made of. I want to see what is the relationship like if there is tension, if there is conflict, if there is disagreement, because this is when you really get to see what someone is made of. If everything is smooth, if everything is easy, I don't know who I'm talking to. I really get to see what someone is made of when they are under pressure, when there is tension, when there is conflict. And this is also a form of trust. Because what I'm communicating when I express my truth to someone, even if it's hard, even if it's confronting, I trust that you are strong enough to hold my truth. And if you are diluting yourself, if you're putting up a performance and a mask, what you're actually communicating is, I don't think you're strong enough. I don't trust you. I don't trust you that you are strong enough to hold my truth. Is this what you want to be communicating to people? So that's why I'm just highlighting a few angles, really to rattle the cage for you to see this is no longer how I want to be living life. I no longer want to live life for other people. It is my life. I'm going to live a life true to myself. So this is number 3. The fourth one is that you do the minimum required. And of course, this is a pretty deep one already, so I don't have to go to a root cause, because if you do the minimum required in different areas of your life, it's a clear example of that you are embodying a low standard for yourself. So how this, for example, shows up, I remember when I was studying NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And in the class, there were like 20 people. And I was so hungry to learn. I was devoted. I was so committed. I was on a high of energy of all the things that I was learning. So every single time the teacher was done talking, they were looking at me, because I was immediately raising my hands with all the questions that I had. Even after the class, I was having questions like, how do I do this? And I was just hungry to learn. Like, I was so committed. I was so devoted to the process, to being the best student that I could be. And there were also people there that were just doing the bare minimum. Yeah, I'm showing up. Yeah, I'm doing my thing. Yeah, I did a bit of my homework, but I was doing more. I was reading more books on NLP because I wanted to master this aspect. I wanted to learn everything possible. So there are 2 different standards that we both were holding. I was creating so many possibilities for myself. So many doors opened up simply in the way that I was showing up. A lot of people think, oh, I need to have money or I need to have these things, and then I can create opportunities for myself. But it's not about what you have or don't have. It's all about who you are being. Because I was just a student. I didn't have so much money to spend on all these teachers and all these mentors, but they were creating so many opportunities for me because of my hunger and because of my dedication. Because I was showing up as the best student that I could be. So I was getting so much value in coaching, in, let's say, certain containers that they created for me outside of the course itself, outside of the training and certification. And I created these possibilities for me because of the way that I was showing up. Because I was not just showing up as in, let me do the minimum required to get my certification for NLP. And this is when I look back at my time at college and when I was studying, this is one thing that I honestly regret. Because if I showed up at a higher standard in that moment, if I showed up at the best student that I could be in all of these moments, I would create a completely different reputation at school. I would create a completely different relationship with the teachers. Because I know teachers, they have huge networks. A lot of them have done research. A lot of them have access to certain companies that you can't get to, and to certain people that you can't get to by yourself. You need to have other people that open up the doors for you. And if you show up like that, they are willing to create these opportunities for you. So this is one thing that I regret looking back at my life, as in, I wish I would have shown up differently when I was still studying. And when you look at your life, are you doing the minimum required? And even when you, for example, look at a job that you don't like, maybe you're working at a job right now because it pays the bills and you want to transition out of that. Even when you don't like something, are you still showing up with excellence? Are you the embodiment of excellence? Or are you just doing the minimum required? Because this is just who you are. This is what you want to be embodying. This is the type of reputation that you want to be building. I don't care if I like something or not, I will show up with excellence. I will be the embodiment of excellence. And this is the reputation that you start building for yourself. And like I said, you have no idea how many doors will open up for you when you become that embodiment. Because you know, it's not about what other people see you doing. It's not about that other people see like, oh, look at the good job that he's doing. You know if you are doing the minimum required or if you are embodying excellence. So how do you feel about yourself when you become that embodiment? When you know that I'm giving it my all. When you know that you had so much attention to detail, how do you start feeling about yourself? You start building a different level of confidence. You start building a different level of focus. And what if you bring that level of being into something that you love? What if you bring that level of being into all areas of your life? How you do one thing is how you do everything. What if you show up with excellence everywhere you go? So now you get to see that, oh yes, I don't like my job, so let me just do the bare minimum. Now you get to see how important it is to still show up like that. Because if you're able to show up like that in things that you don't like, just imagine how you would show up in areas where you are doing things that you love. So that's why don't do the minimum required. Don't accept that standard for yourself and become the embodiment of excellence. So that's number 4. And the last one is going to be a quick one. You are communicating late. So let's imagine that you have an appointment scheduled and something happened and you are going to be late for the appointment. Do you send that person a message like, hey, this and this happened, I'm going to be late? And I know this sounds so simple. Again, these surface level things, they may seem so insignificant, but I talk to so many people on a daily basis with the coaching, with the relationships that I'm building. And I already see with these little behaviors how they are showing up in life. I can immediately see the kind of standards that they hold for themselves in the way that they communicate with me. I know when people say like, hey, I told you that I would send you this thing on this date. I haven't been able to because this and this happened. I will send it to you on this date. I'm like, oof, he is on top of things. And this is the deeper root cause of that symptom. Are you on top of things? When you said you're going to send something to someone at a certain time and you know you're going to be late, do you send them a heads up? Like, hey, this and this came in between, I will send it on this time. When you're late for an appointment, hey, I'm having trouble with this, or hey, something happened, I need to drive to this place, I'll be 5 minutes late. Is that okay? Do you communicate these things? Because I have so many appointments that happen where people just don't communicate. And then all of a sudden I get a message as in, oh yeah, this happened. Oh, sorry, I forgot to communicate this with you. I'm like, why are you communicating this so late to me? Sometimes I even have people just waiting for days to respond to a message. Like, how can you wait for days to respond to messages like that? And I know, because I have some information about them, about the way that they operate in life. I know that I'm not the only one experiencing this. And that they are not the only one, or that I'm not the only one that is receiving these messages later. This is the way that they go about their messaging. So what does it tell them and tell me about their standards in life? Because what I notice is the people that are busy in life, that think they are productive but are actually just being busy, they are the ones that react very late to messages. And I noticed that the people that are the highest performing, so they are very productive, so they have a family that are taking care of, they have multiple businesses, they have teams that are running, they are the ones that respond the fastest. And I was so amazed by this when I witnessed this. The people that are actually the most productive, they respond the fastest to the messages. They are on top of things. They are not waiting for things to happen. So this is the kind of standard, again, that you want to embody. You want to be on top of things. Are you on top of your communication? Are you holding your communication to a high standard in life? Because when you bring that intensity to your communication, you bring a different level of standard to all areas of your life. Because now you are on top of things. You are the creator. You are in the driver's seat. Instead of letting life happen and like, oh yeah, I have some time. Let me just text this person. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to communicate this. Like, what does that show you about the way that you're holding life? So that's why these little things, they matter so much. So you don't brush over them because they are crucial to look at. Because like I said, I have been working with people for more than 8 years now. And I started to see patterns of the way that people showed up and what it told me about why they were stuck in life, why they were lacking the success that they were looking for in life. And it's all in these little things that have a deeper root cause. So these are the 5 things. I'm curious, which one resonated the most with you, and also if you have maybe different ones that are very important to you that also expose maybe a low standard that people are holding for themselves, where you made a switch in your life, where you embodied a different standard, because I love to hear different angles when it comes to this topic. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.